Hey everybody, Dustin Thompson here, coming back again with another video in our series on energy markets and recent energy price increases. So now we're going to talk about, have state and federal policies impacted prices? The impacts of climate change have arrived, as evidenced by the extreme weather and harsher temperatures that seem to be sticking around for longer and longer. And this has prompted countries around the world, including the US, to focus on ways to fight climate change, the transition to clean energy being an essential part of that strategy. At the outset, it needs to be clear the issues we're going to talk about in this video are not what is driving current increases on primarily Delmarva power bills. Refer you back to those videos that we made last week. The issues we're going to talk about today are what are contributing to what PJM calls an overall energy crisis in our region that's going to have significant impacts around 2030 or so. So we discussed them here to clarify the role of state and federal policy and its impact on the overall energy system. To be clear, PJM has not pointed to any Delaware policy that is impacting retirements, but it has pointed to some policies in neighboring states and some federal programs. PJM specifically points to policies in New Jersey, Illinois, and Virginia as primary examples of state policies that are impacting plant retirements. These state policies are focusing on phasing out coal entirely, reducing pollution from natural gas plants with pollution control measures, not shutting them down, but adding additional air pollution measures, for example, and adding clean energy and storage onto the grid. And that's a primary focus for all of those states. Now, on the federal side, they point to three programs aimed at lowering the impacts of primarily coal power plants on air, water, and soils. All of these federal rules are in the process of being rolled back under the current administration. So some of these estimates and predictions may not be as valid now from PJM, but PJM assumes that if all of these policies stay into place and newer natural gas continues to dominate the market, that some coal plants and some older gas plants will choose to close rather than update their pollution control systems, particularly for coal, which is already struggling to remain economically viable in the face of natural gas. Now, PJM has predicted about 21 gigawatts of predominantly coal power will retire rather than upgrade their pollution systems by 2030. For perspective, that's about 11% of the 183 gigawatts of power on the PJM grid. In the past, about 90% of retirements were coal-powered, and PJM predicts that most future retirements would likely also be coal. To be clear again, these are estimates and predictions of what could happen, according to PJM. And even without these policies in place, coal power plants would likely still retire regardless due to coal's inability to compete with natural gas in the open market. And it's been stated in past videos, I'll state it here again, even when folks are talking about the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, even NRG, who owns the Indian River coal plant, said that the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative had no impact on their decision whether or not to keep the coal plant operational. It was an economic decision that led to that coal plant being shut down, and is likely a similar case for other coal plants in the region. So next time we're going to talk about how much having renewables on the grid is impacting grid prices. So hope to see you back.